What if the sun were only half its size? Okay, I'll admit. So this isn't precisely an alternate history, per se, but it is still an interesting scenario to ask about. What if the closest star to our planet and the only one that we know of to support life were different? How different would be our solar system, and how our Earth in particular would change if the mass of the sun were to get cut in half? Although the sun will indeed lose vast quantities of mass in the far future and balloon into a red giant, we are talking about what if it suddenly became a red dwarf. Red dwarf stars are the most common and long-lived stars in the universe, taking many trillions of years to burn out. They will be the last stars essentially left in the universe, and that is why it is important to analyze how likely it is life can be found around such planets. Although at first glance the longevity compared to our own sun, which will burn out in a couple of billion years, might give the false impression that they are nice for life, take a closer look and you would see that it is exactly the opposite case. The sun's temperature, color, and diameter are determined by its mass. Bigger stars are hotter and bluer than the whitish yellow sun, while smaller stars are cooler and redder. Red dwarf stars will obviously have a tighter habitable zone, the band around a star within which liquid water can flow on a planet's surface. Red dwarfs have habitable zones that start 18.5 million miles in and stretch a mere 9.3 million miles beyond. Given Earth's current distance about 93 million miles from the Sun, we wouldn't stand a chance. In the half-mass Sun scenario, the habitable zone would shift closer to the star. If the Earth orbited at the same distance, our water would freeze solid. Planets in Mercury-sized orbit, about two-thirds closer than Earth to this hypothetical crimson sun, would be the right distance from the star. Just how habitable a red dwarf habitable zone might be is debatable. Smaller stars produce more frequent blasts of radiation called flares, which would bombard close-in planets. These worlds might also become tightly locked to the sun, as our moon is to Earth, and constantly present one hot hemisphere to the star, while the other permanently is dark. This means that there will always be a day on the side facing the sun, and always darkness on the other side. Freezing cold and burning hot isn't exactly what you need for life, so it is very unlikely that life can find a way to exist near these stars. The future would be bad for the outer solar system as well. The gas giants, which are much further from the sun, may drift out of the solar system entirely, not being constrained by such a weak force of gravity. No more Saturn, no Uranus, no Neptune, and no Jupiter. Given the fact that it protects us from stray comets and asteroids, this would be a very bad thing on top of dozens of other really bad things. Traveling at such high velocities, they are simply too massive to be restrained by such a small star. So there are two possible scenarios, neither of which are good. First, if the sun were always a star, then that means that life on Earth or any planet for that matter would be very unlikely to arise. But if life did find a way, planets would look black to our eyes, soaking up as much light as possible from their dim red star to power photosynthesis. Yeah, that would just be a tad too creepy for me. The Earth would be further away from the Sun than in our timeline, since the gravity is weaker. This means that whatever water is on the surface is a block of ice. Now, if the Sun suddenly became half of its mass, which is impossible, then we wouldn't fare that good at all. You see, plants would begin to die immediately due to a lack of enough sunlight. As our orbit moves further and further away from the sun, we would be forced underground since the surface would be extremely cold. Eventually, we would run out of resources and become extinct, along with the rest of life on Earth. A sobering thought, but it reminds us how important the sun is to life on Earth. If the sun were a bit bigger or a bit smaller, closer or further away, life as we know it simply could not exist. We may think that our star is just an average one among many, but it is truly a remarkable star, providing the energy that fuels all activity and life on Earth. As always, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more great content. This is Call of the World, signing out.